of all the moves the Niners have made under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, the bad ones, what is the one transaction you think they wish they could reverse?
What do I think they wish, or what do I think
Go you first.
the transaction that I think that they should reverse is probably trading away Buckner, even though I was a fan of it. Actually, you know what? Let me. No, I'm not going to say that because
I was going to maybe say Buckner because to me it seems like they're still trying to replace him.
Yeah, it is because you know what? Because I understand why they did it. I just didn't understand what they did. Like I didn't like what they did with what they got. Like how they went about. I understand why.
I kind of understood why they did it, but it's like, wait a second. So you trade him for the 13th pick when he was a 7th pick, and he got better. So it seemed like you didn't even get great value. Then you take a player who's clearly not as good as him. Then you move off that player and give Javon Hargrave the contract you should have gave Buckner in the first place. And then he wasn't that good. And now you're still trying to replace Hargrave. Like,
yeah. Because you went there, I'll go signing Debo because I think because I saw that coming. I was on your show and I saw that coming a mile away. They had the perfect setup, Grant. They made him an all-pro wide receiver. His value couldn't have been higher.
No,
they
literally could have traded him for the 10th pick in the draft.
I don't know.
He was a second-round pick who had one good year.
He would have didn't the Jets or somebody offered him didn't they want to give a late round? I thought it was a late first round pick or was it? Or I know they got a second for him. They definitely got a second for him. They were offered a second pick for him.
Yeah,
which is not what they're going to get offered now, if that, right? So. And the reason why I was opposed to it at the time is for a couple things. I think you can always get wide receivers. It's the most talent-laden position in football. All of you from high school on, if you've got a guy that's really good, that's your athlete, he's normally going to play wide receiver. And then that filters up to college and so forth. And so it's a talent-laden position. The rules that have been changed of late have all favored the wide receiver. So
yeah, from at the line of scrimmage to the middle of the field,
their job is easier.
Yeah.
So I just think you can find them, and not only that
and they're so expensive.
They're expensive, and the Niners seem to be able to when they draft wide receiver, they seem to like Ricky Pearsall. I know people didn't question the pick I did, but he seemed like he's going to be all right. Like
yeah, he does.
Kyle seems like he can pick. I know he's got his busts, right? But in general, it seems like he knows what he's doing when he's picking wide receivers, right? So it's something that they've shown they're able to do and replace that position. So why keep putting money into it when you can go find guys that are cheaper? And none of that is there's always guys that want to get that are on the trading block. So you can always find the guy that you could trade for. So it just
what's interesting is the Eagles spend big money on 2 wide receivers and hardly ever throw to them, and they still won.
But you know what, Grant? I'm be interested to see as their roster transitions, and they're going to have to pay other positions. What Roseman does is he going to give those receivers another contract, or is he going to pay other people and then draft?
Hey, we're throwing for 180 yards a game. This is our new philosophy, our new strategy. Let's pay Jalen Carter and our D line.
Right, and let's just draft a young wide receiver. Right, so
I can see that
with the whole Debo thing. And I knew that they were going to have to pay Aiyuk. So with me at the time, I was like, well, I'd rather pay Aiyuk down the road, have that, and then just draft and acquire a cheaper wide receiver and get what you can for Debo. And they didn't do that.
No. And then I got to say probably the worst move of all time, franchise history, the Trey Lance deal. I mean, 3 firsts and a third for a guy you got 4 starts out of. I mean, that's almost impressive.
Yeah.
And how bad it was. And what's crazy is just trading up. Even if they had taken Chase or Sewell, you can't trade 3 firsts and a third for those guys. It was just a doomed move from the start.
Although if you went back and they took Penei Sewell, I think you could look at it and be like, hey, that was a good move. because they're terrible at picking in the first round. So if they were able to pick Sewell, got in, you know, an All-Pro player for 3 first-round picks, like those 3 first-round picks would have probably been, you know.
But there's a reason they didn't pick Sewell, because no one in the league would trade that much for a non-quarterback.
Yeah.
Even though in retrospect, you could justify getting a Hall of Fame right tackle.
Right.
Yeah. But damn, I mean, I think when we're talking about how, you know, hey, you've really been kicking the can down the road in the trenches and you're really lacking depth, this trade right here. I mean, there could have been an offensive tackle, a defensive tackle starting that essentially is Trey Lance instead.
You would have
Malik Mustafa is what the Niners ended up getting for Trey Lance. 3 firsts and a third for Malik Mustafa.
Ideally, you would have thought that they should be able to get hit on at least one of those 3 first round picks. But you know, their first round.
They could have missed on all 3 of them.
I think the league average is around. I think it's around 60%.
And the Niners average is around 30%.
Yeah.
They got Bosa and Aiyuk and missed on every other.
Probably. Well, I think I would give them. It looks like Pierce. It's too early to tell, but I think they might have hit on.
True. Yeah, I'll give. Yeah.
It also depends on how you're evaluating. Like, there's different. I've looked through different ways on how you evaluate. Like, are you evaluating it as the player? The player is still a starter somewhere, or are you evaluating, is he a starter on your team and has a second, or are you evaluating it through all pros or Pro Bowls? Depends how you want to evaluate. But like, because theoretically you could give them McGlinchey because he is a starter. You know, he's still playing in the league. You know, he didn't get benched on the Saints. You know, so in theory, you probably,
Broncos.
Yeah. Or sorry. Yes.
You don't even know what team he's on. I'm not giving him McGlinchey.
I thought Saints because I know he plays for He plays for Peyton.
That's true. You're right. That's right.
I still associate him with the Saints. I don't know.
NorCal Benny G says first 4 or 5 picks should go on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Like,
I mean, you just saw the Chiefs are objectively better than the Niners. They got destroyed by the Eagles because they couldn't block. So yeah, I think that's probably a good place to start, blocking.
They'll probably draft the trenches, but it'll be some like obscure guy you don't know. You don't like.
Yeah, it's like, well, we did it. You can't be mad, but it's not who you wanted.
Yeah, like the Michigan defensive tackle will be there, and I forgot his name, but
they'll take like Shamar Stewart instead or something.
Yeah.
I'm him 707 says we need a DB stud too. Isaac Yadam got picked on all year. Yadam.
The thing is they actually have a lot of needs, and I don't think they're going to be able to address them all this year. That's a problem. Like, so you got to address what you can first, and you know, I don't think Grant they're going to be able to, maybe, but especially not in the draft. Get a good offensive tackle, get a good defensive tackle, get a good defensive end, get a good safety, get a corner, like. Guard, like, what are they doing? What are they doing at left guard? Like the center position. I know people have been talking about this for a while. Like, what about that? Backup quarterback. What are you doing at wide receiver? You know, I don't think they can take I don't think you can trust them to take care of all of these positions, especially just in the draft.
No, they're great at drafting in the first 3 rounds. What are you talking about? I'm him 707 says played with Gross Matos on 2K. Told him he's gone. Doing the Lord's work. That's why you're him. Spider369 says Jade Barron over Will Johnston.
Okay.
Tony B says the Lance trade broke my faith in the front office.
They like Brock Purdy really, really saved them. Like, this trade would be talked about so much more if Brock Purdy didn't occur. Because who would be their starter right now? Sam Darnold or
Sam Darnold's a great player.
Or still Jimmy? Would they still be? They
would have given Jimmy an extension.
Yeah, like, yeah, he really saved their tail. Like,
well, Jimmy's going to be the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford in L.A. So joke's on you.
Are the Rams gonna? Listen, if the Giants came in and give them their first round pick for Stafford, that's going to be crazy.
I can't wait for that.